Picture this. You're standing alone, late at night, scrolling through messages that never came. The room is quiet, but inside your chest, it feels like a storm. You feel the weight of every word you've ever sent, every moment you've given, every time you bent yourself just to keep someone else close. And for what? Approval? Affection? Recognition? Maybe she's asleep, maybe she's busy, maybe she's moved on. And somewhere deep down, you already know that chasing her won't bring you closer to the truth. And she doesn't even realize the power she holds over you. Not because she's cruel, not because she wants to hurt you, but because human nature is hardwired this way. Every glance, every silence, every fleeting smile is interpreted by your brain as a sign of value or lack of it. Dopamine spikes when you see her attention. Withdrawal pains when it's gone. And in this quiet, lonely loop, your mind starts to believe that her choices define your worth. But here's the truth, brother and sister, if you're listening too, the moment you stop giving your energy to be chosen, the moment you stop seeking validation in her eyes, something inside shifts. Your chest stops tightening. Your mind stops racing. You stop orbiting someone else's emotions, and finally, you stand in your own gravity. Because desire doesn't live in safety. Respect doesn't survive overexposure. And love, the kind that lasts, the kind that inspires, begins with self-possession. Music swells, soft fade to black and white cinematic shot of man and woman in separate rooms. Tonight, I'm going to tell you what no one else will. I'm going to tell you why every effort, every sacrifice, every plea for attention may have been doing the exact opposite of what you hoped. And I'll show you how the one thing you've been overlooking, your own value, can change everything. Because the truth is, you've been chasing her approval for far too long, and it's time to stop. You're alone in a room that once felt alive with expectation, a room where your attention was always half elsewhere, tethered to a phone, a memory, a hope that someone would choose you back with the same intensity you offered them. The silence feels different now, heavier, honest. And in that honesty, something uncomfortable rises to the surface. You begin to see how deeply you were shaped by the need to be wanted, how your brain learned to associate worth with response, affection with consistency, love with effort that was never equally returned. You remember how often you ignored that tight feeling in your chest, how many times your intuition whispered that something was off, and how quickly you silenced it because losing her felt more terrifying than losing yourself. That's how it happens, brother. Not in one dramatic moment, but in 1,000 small compromises. You start explaining instead of stating. You start hoping instead of deciding. You start waiting instead of leading. Your nervous system adapts. Dopamine rewards you when she responds, punishes you when she pulls away, and slowly you become emotionally trained, conditioned to chase relief instead of truth. This is not romance. This is brain chemistry. This is a biological loop that turns strong men into anxious ones without them even realizing it. And the cruel irony is this: the more you try to secure her, the more insecure you become. Not in appearance, not in status, but in posture. Your internal center weakens. You begin to orbit instead of stand, and attraction cannot survive orbiting energy. Every woman, regardless of what she says, responds to grounded presence. Not performance, not sacrifice, presence. The kind that doesn't rush, doesn't beg, doesn't explain itself. This isn't about blaming women. This is about understanding human nature, hardwired, ancient, indifferent to your good intentions. Like a market, desire responds to value, and value collapses when it is oversupplied. When you chased, you didn't show love, you showed scarcity. When you overgave, you didn't prove depth, you proved fear of loss. And fear is felt, not heard. She sensed it in your hesitation, in your overthinking, in the way you waited for emotional permission before being yourself. That's when respect starts to erode. Quietly, politely. She doesn't announce it, she just feels different. And eventually, so do you. You feel smaller, reactive, tired. You wonder how something that started with intensity turned into anxiety. The answer is painful but liberating. You left yourself behind. You traded your center for comfort, and comfort is never free. It costs polarity, mystery, and strength. But here's where the shift begins. Not with anger, not with bitterness, with clarity. One day you stop chasing, not as a tactic, not as a game, but because something inside you finally says, enough. Enough explaining your worth, enough negotiating your boundaries, enough living in emotional anticipation. The withdrawal hurts at first, your brain was addicted to the loop. Dopamine doesn't like silence. Ego doesn't like detachment. But beneath the discomfort, something ancient wakes up: stillness. You stop reacting, you stop checking, you stop needing to be seen. And that stillness feels unfamiliar because you haven't lived there in a long time, but it's home. You realize detachment is not coldness, it's sovereignty. Silence is not absence, it's strength. Walking away is not losing, it's choosing alignment over approval. Maybe she notices. Maybe she feels the absence where your availability used to be. Maybe she reaches out, maybe she doesn't. And for the first time, the outcome doesn't define you, because your value is no longer dependent on being chosen. It is anchored in who you are when no one is watching, when no one is responding, when no one is validating you. You're no longer at war with your emotions. You're no longer managed by fear, chemistry, or hope. You are grounded, whole, awake. And that quiet shift, made without drama, without revenge, without applause, is the moment you stop being shaped by the world and start standing as a man within it. Brother, take a breath and really hear this, not with your ears, but with the part of you that's been tired for a long time. You were never meant to live your life waiting for permission to feel whole. You were never meant to measure your worth by someone else's attention, affection, or inconsistency. Somewhere along the road, quietly, without ceremony, you were taught to doubt yourself. You were taught that if you just gave a little more, explained a little better, sacrificed a little deeper, you would finally earn the right to be chosen. And so you tried. You tried until your instincts dulled, until your boundaries softened, until your inner voice became a whisper you barely trusted anymore. That wasn't weakness, it was conditioning, a slow reshaping of your nervous system, your emotions, your identity. Dopamine taught you to crave validation. Fear taught you to avoid loss. And together they built a cage that looked like love from the inside. But here's what no one told you. A man loses himself long before he loses a relationship. It happens the moment he stops listening to his discomfort, the moment he tolerates what drains him, the moment he trades his center for the illusion of connection. And the world does not protect men in that position. It exploits them. Predictable men are managed. Emotionally hungry men are controlled. Men who fear being alone are easy to replace. That's not cruelty. That's how systems work, how markets work, how human psychology works. Value responds to stability. Respect responds to self-trust. Attraction responds to polarity. When you abandon yourself, everything that once felt alive begins to decay quietly. But this message is not here to shame you. It's here to wake you up. Because the moment you stop chasing, something ancient returns. A stillness, a grounded calm that doesn't need reassurance. You begin to feel your spine again. Your decisions slow down, your reactions soften. You no longer move from anxiety, you move from choice. You understand that detachment is not coldness, it's emotional sovereignty. Silence is not punishment, it's power. Walking away is not defeat, it's alignment. And yes, some people will only recognize your value once you stop giving it away freely. Let them. Their realization is not your responsibility anymore. Build your life where no one can shake it. Build your body so it carries strength. Build your mind so it isn't easily hijacked. Build your standards so they protect your peace. Let love come to you as a compliment, not a cure. You are not here to be endlessly available, endlessly understanding, endlessly forgiving at the cost of yourself. You are here to stand firm, to choose with intention, to walk forward even when no one is clapping. And when you do that, quietly, consistently, without bitterness, you become something rare in this world. A man who is not ruled by fear, chemistry, or approval. A man who knows that being alone with self-respect is infinitely stronger than being together without it. Carry this with you, live it, and never forget, the moment you choose yourself, life starts meeting you differently.